Get people. Hello, welcome everybody. Let me enable the chat. All right, everyone should be able to use the chat box now. Hello, welcome. Happy to see everybody today. Let me get us going live on Facebook. So our off Facebook people can, whatever I'm trying to say, so that other people can join us as well. All right, let's see here. Here we go. And we are ready to go. We are going. We are live. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Excited to see everybody today. Our usual suspects appear to be popping in. Hello, say where you're from. Let us know what's going on. And we are going to get this kicked off in just a second here. I just want to remind everybody that we have the closed captions enabled. So if anyone needs to use those, feel free to hit the CC button. Of course, we will do our Q&A session at the end of this. And so if you have a question, make sure you use the Q&A box. And we're going to go ahead and get started. For anyone who is new to us, maybe found this through social media or by stumbling across the website, I'm Alexa Bigworth, host of the Women in Publishing Summit, and we are in our sponsor series leading up into the 2023 conference, which tickets go on sale on November 7th. So make sure that you head on over to the website November 7th. Of course, I will email you and let you all know that this is happening, but our sponsors play such a huge role in making sure that we can keep the cost of this conference significantly lower than most of the industry events happening. So thank you so much to Jennifer and Your Book is Your Hook and all of our sponsors for doing that and helping us out with that. So let's talk about who we are talking to today. So we've got Jennifer S. Wilkov, media personality, host, and executive producer of the popular podcast show, Your Book is Your Hook. Jennifer is a multi-number-one international best-selling award-winning author, an award-winning freelance writer, a columnist, the literary agent matchmaker, and a respected book and business consultant in her business by the same name, Your Book is Your Hook. She supports first-time and seasoned authors and writers in the writing, getting published, and marketing of their book ideas and projects, as well as the building of their platform to raise their visibilities to readers, Hollywood, and the media. You can learn more at yourbookisyourhook.com. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with us again, for sponsoring again, and all the wonderful things. Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go. Thank you.
Go.
Hey, thank you so much, Alexa. It's such a pleasure to be back with you here at Women in Publishing. And I hope that in addition to today, you all be happy to join us in March. So today we are actually going to be working with a session and a conversation that's going to help you if you're looking to figure out how to publish. And also if you are in a position where you have already published in one form. So for a lot of people, what happens is they don't really understand that there are multiple ways to publish your book, and how you actually choose to do it can determine which audience you reach. And so that's really what we're going to be talking about today, because my objective during this hour is to help you really understand what you need to know so that you can actually leverage your platform and get more audience. A lot of people also want to understand for themselves, how many ways can I publish and why would I do that? Why would I do that is the magic word here, because why would I do that is because you want to actually put yourself in a great position where you can publish your book, not once, not twice, but maybe actually do it in different times and different formats in the best way that you can for your own self. So part of what I want to do today is I am going to be providing for you a handout that you can interact with so that you can actually work with me during this webinar. And I think that that will help you a lot, because that will give you a great opportunity to fill in the blanks or follow along and take some notes so that you'll be able to actually have this information for yourself. So let me upload that for you, and that will be in the 3 dots, I think. Is that right? Or no, it's the file. So hold on for me for just a moment and I can give that to you. So I'm going to put some slides up, Alexa. Is that okay? Do I have permission to share
Yes,
my
absolutely.
screen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're able to share your screen.
All right. That's what I'm looking for, because for all of us, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to make sure that we have everything that we need in front of you.
And I did not see that file drop. Did you load that into the chat?
Hold on one
Or
second.
if you have a link, we can share the link as well.
Yeah, I have it right here. And I should be able to choose it. There we go. And it should go right up to you guys. Hold on. All right, I will get that up to you in just a moment. Let me get started with our session. Hold on. PowerPoint. And here we go. Good. Okay, please make sure you tell me if you can see my slides.
Perfect. Yep.
Terrific. Okay. So one of the things that I find that's so important is to be able to actually work with these 5 ways to identify all your options, understand what's required, determine the right ways, the secret to strategically planning how to do this, and the foolproof ways to actually choose how you publish and when, so you can actually leverage it in your industry, business, or even your writing career. Also leverage your book for various audiences and opportunities. There are markets you can also do. And some of you say, my book is a film, my book is a TV show, my book is even a Broadway stage production. All of those are also possible, but you have to know how and when. So today we're going to talk about these 5 ways. These are the 5 ways to publish. And traditionally with a literary agent and large publisher is usually what a lot of people want. But you can also traditionally publish without an agent, and we're going to talk about how you would do that with a small, medium, or large publisher. Then, of course, there's self-publishing and e-publishing and audiobook publishing too. So let's start with what's required to publish each way. So first, we're going to talk about traditionally with a literary agent, large publisher. As you can see here, many of you, if you would in the chat, just tell me, what are you actually working on? Are you working on fiction? Are you working on nonfiction? Are you working on a children's book? Go ahead and type that into the chat so that I can actually get that information to you. And that will actually help me guide what I'm doing. Oh, look at that. Mystery thriller, memoir, women's fiction, 2 memoirs. Romance series, awesome. Christian sci-fi, love that. Self-publishing a picture book, suspense, all kinds of fiction, all kinds of nonfiction, which is great. Self-publishing, all of the above, love that, Mary Beth. Historical nonfiction, terrific. So this session is really going to help all of you. So please look for what you're writing. I'm going to cover it all. Okay. So when we actually talk about this, oops, let me put those back up there. There they are. Okay. So when we actually talk about these, there we go. When we actually talk about these, one of the most important things that you want to keep in mind is that you actually want to get yourself in a position where you always present your very best work. Why? Because traditionally we expect you to do the editing. We expect you to give us your highest and best. When you do that, that really helps us better understand what you have and what you're doing. If we don't get that, we're going to judge what you sent as your very best that you can do and judge it on that. And that's why if you don't submit your very best work, you might get more rejections than you thought you might. Do not rely on the myth that an editor at a publisher will edit your work when you get published. That's not what happens. For us, we want to see what you can do. We may give you editorial notes as an acquisitions editor, as an editor in a particular division of a publishing house. But we want you to come with a complete full story, whether it is in fiction. As a memoir, we'd like it to read like a novel. We don't want your chronological, what I did yesterday, what I did the next day, what I did the next day. We want a story. It's got to be storytelling. And for children's, we want it to be readable for the age group of children you said it was for. Okay. So when we actually do that, the best thing to do is to hire an editor, excuse me, to help you edit and polish your manuscript pages. Why is that important? That's extremely important to us because it helps us understand that you care enough about your work to actually get a second set of eyes to look at it. When somebody doesn't do that and they submit something that has some basic errors, spelling, punctuation, grammatical errors, aside from the development of the storyline, plot, and characters, it's hard for us to read. I knew a publisher who actually had told me that if he can't get through the first 20 pages of that particular manuscript or the partial that he requests, he puts it down and doesn't respond because he can't read it. And so that's one of the things that's super important for you to know traditionally. We're going to talk about why that's also important if you don't publish traditionally. But first, let's keep going. So for fiction, what do you need? You need a query letter, you need a synopsis, and the first 3 chapters. The manuscript in this case should be complete before you submit the project for consideration. Here's the caveat. If you have the opportunity to go to a writer's conference and you have the opportunity to pitch an agent in person, go for it. Pitch the agent, whether your project is complete or not, whether you've written, whether you've had it edited or not, just pitch, pitch, pitch. More than 60% of writers who have an agent got them by meeting them first in person at a conference and then following through on the process to complete getting that agent, signing them, and getting the contract. That meeting is very important and they're very rare. The query letter I'll be covering actually during the summit in my session, and the synopsis should be 1 page. Most 1.5 pages, not 4 pages. That's too long. We want a synopsis that we can read very quickly. Shoot for 1 to 1.25 pages. Nonfiction. Nonfiction is a query letter and a book proposal, not a synopsis, a full book proposal with 2 chapters. Why is that important? Because that's the sales brochure for your book for us. If we can't read that proposal, that's a big problem for us. In this case, if you have nonfiction, and that includes memoir, what's most important is that you have the first 2 chapters before you start submitting for consideration. You don't have to finish the book. If you are still writing the book, that's fine, as long as you have the first 2 chapters for us to see. So that's really important. One of the best things about what I do is I'm actually one of those people who is a professional editor. I'm a professional editor with the Editorial Freelancers Association. And so that's something that you can also talk to me about if that's something you're interested in. Let's keep going. So when we actually talk about traditional with a literary agent, one of the things that's really important is we want to make sure that your book proposal includes the following elements. Now, why do I know this? Because I actually do this for my clients. My clients actually come to me with a full book proposal to assess, or they come and want me to help them from scratch. What is it? It's an overview. It's about the market, who's the audience, how many zeros of people will want to buy this book. What's your marketing and promotion platform that you currently have, and what are you going to do? Who are you? Why are you writing this book? And the competitive titles for it. Traditionally, with the literary agent for children's is much different. You need a query letter. You need a synopsis, which is in the query letter, and the manuscript text in a Word document, not in anything. You can also put it in a PDF for us. That's fine. But we also want sample illustrations if you have an illustrator. If you don't have an illustrator, you have to tell us in the query letter. The manuscript has to be complete, written, edited, and polished prior to consideration. And again, if you have an illustrator attached, please tell us. Some agents like you to have an illustrator, others don't. But let us know. And if you have an illustrator, you have to show us what their illustrations look like. Now, I told you that you don't necessarily need to actually have an agent to get a traditional contract. There are small, medium, and large niche publishers that you can actually find that you can publish and maybe your book fits into. Yes, for fiction too. So we have the same thing, right? Why? Because they need the same information in order to publish it. In self and e-publishing, you're not going to spend your money or your time or effort on a book proposal. You're not going to do it on a query letter process either, or writing a synopsis. You're going to have other things to write instead, besides the manuscript. You're going to be creating front matter and back matter for that book, writing cover copy, which means maybe getting an endorsement for the cover of your book, writing the cover copy for the back of the book, and writing the product description for places online and listings and catalogs. That's really important for you to actually do and have already prepared before you begin the publication process. Why? Because you don't want to be editing when somebody's already laying out your book. Plus, it may cost you more. Who needs to be on your team to self-publish and e-publish? Well, you need a designer for your book cover and an interior layout, design files for the printer or distributor you choose to work with, your financial investment to publish, produce, and distribute the project. So you're going to be paying somebody to help you do it, because the publisher, if you went to a publisher, would pay their staff to do it. You have to hire that staff yourself. Again, there's nothing required, not even illustrations for children. You are now the publisher. And so you now make all the decisions. You are going to publish yourself. So there's no need for any of these. Let's talk about audiobook publishing. Audiobook publishing is incredibly exciting and important and has really come on these days. But one of the most important things about audiobook publishing is that you can't read an audiobook and produce it without actually having the book complete. That manuscript has to be complete because that acts as the script for the audiobook. Our company at Your Book is a Hook provides audiobook publishing. We will help you with all the different pieces and parts, whether you want to read it yourself or hire talent. That's one of the best parts about audiobook publishing, is if you don't like your voice or you don't feel confident about your own voice reading it, you can also hire other people, the talent, to actually read it and professionally produce it. Okay, So what does it require? You have to get a production team to record, edit, produce, publish, and distribute it. When we distribute it to 35 different paid platforms for audio. You need a team that could hire that voiceover talent I was just talking about if you're not going to do it yourself. And you're going to pay for the financial investment to publish, produce, and distribute that project. So again, audiobook publishing, there's no career letter. You're not submitting it to a publisher for you to consider whether or not they're going to produce the audiobook. You're going to pay for it. Now, if you get a contract from a publisher, it may include that they own the audiobook rights. That means that they're going to publish it. Okay, that's one of the most important things, is so that you'll be able to do that. Okay. Yes, we're going to give you the slides instead of the handouts. Okay, so don't worry. Okay, significant statistics. Well, let's talk about what's really happening in publishing, just so that I can help you get your finger on the pulse of publishing. In 2021, 2.2 million new book titles were published globally this year. That's about 2,500 books a day. Yes, people were very prolific during the pandemic, and there are a lot of books being published now. So what kind of books? Print books are still the most popular book format. According to Hoot, 65% of people still read a print book. That was in 2019. And 25% of adults read an ebook, and that's growing. That we know that that statistic is continuing to increase. Amazon is the 164,000-pound gorilla, and other app-based options online are actually killing it with digital publishing and online sales numbers. They have actually outpaced physical retail now. So most people are getting books online instead of walking into a bookstore, and the pandemic had a lot to do with that too. Adult nonfiction books, since we have lots of nonfiction books here, has grown 22.8% in the last 5 years. 22.8%, right? So that's really, really crazy. Amazon itself sells about 60% of all books, including more than 1.4 self-published titles. Now, one of the things I caution you about is don't get stuck in Amazon jail. Amazon jail means that you only publish on Amazon. Do not do that. Amazon is a company that sells B2C. No bookseller ever said, I'm going to go buy books on Amazon and stock them in my store. Whether they're an independent, a medium size, or big box bookseller. You have to get into one of the publishing networks in the United States where independent booksellers or the larger retailers can order it from. So make sure that you do. When we help people self-publish at Your Book is Your Hook, we help you get into the right places so that all the stores, independents, big box, and everyone in between can order your book. So anyone can walk into any bookseller and buy your book. A printed book is not as popular today because honestly, audiobook sales and devices like the Kindle and the iPhone are outpacing those print books. That's where everybody in the electronic market is. Remember, I was saying at the beginning, we're going to talk about the different markets. There are different people that want different forms and formats of books these days. Okay. So we'll talk about Ingram Spark in a moment. Digital publishing is perfect for children's books. A lot of people say, really? Yes. those children want those images to move, 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 and they want to be engaged, almost like it was a show. Digital publishing is now at the point where it can really engage children with rich media like sound, so the children can have an interactive experience, not a two-dimensional experience with the book. So it really is a great way to publish your book. These are surprising statistics about audiobooks. 20% of US consumers have listened to an audiobook in the last year. And audiobooks have been up over 4.3% year over year. That number continues to increase. Ebooks are outperforming audiobooks because they're actually increasing at 16.5% over last year. They generate more than $956 million and are mostly driven by Amazon Kindle. So those of you who have published a paperback and haven't really explored the ebook and audiobook trend, I really encourage you to do that. You can also explore the ebook first strategy, which is going to the electronic market first and then publishing your paperback or hardcover after that. That's a completely different market, but it's a whole bunch of people that are never going to read that hardcover book, or they're never going to read that paper book, whether it's hardcover or paperback, because they want it in a way that they can consume it on their device or their phone or their tablet or their computer. So aside from Amazon, who, as I mentioned, is the 1,000-pound gorilla here, or 164,000, as I like to call it, they host over 200,000 audiobooks on Audible. One of the things that you really want to know is that a lot of people are getting digital media now from their libraries. That's right, local libraries. And guess what? Those local libraries have to buy those titles. So you want to make sure that you're able to do that. Another thing Your Book is Your Hook does is we help our clients get into libraries and target those librarians specifically and actually get a list of librarians to contact because they actually opted in and said they were interested in their book. It's a really important place for you to not discard or discount because the libraries are nationwide and they all want to stock your book. They're also not going to go to Amazon and buy it and stock it. So 3 years ago, right, the numbers for public libraries were so high, they reached record highs. 326 million pieces of digital content were downloaded. That's a 20% increase. Again, the libraries should not be discounted. They're a great place to get your book in circulation. In 2020, ebook checkouts from libraries were experiencing a 52% year-over-year increase. Have I convinced you about the libraries? So just so that you know, you can actually see that you can see a lot of what's going on through the different ways to publish. So the secret is knowing when to publish, right? When do you publish which version and why would you do that? So let's talk about the foolproof ways to choose why you want to publish in a certain way. So if you want to reach the digital market and your book has to do with people of a certain age who might be more digitally inclined to read it, they might skew younger, or they might be a particular technical set of people. That's really important for you to understand as well, because that digital market, you may want to skip all the paper and focus on that after you get the electronic copy out. Even the large publishers do this. One of my professional colleagues published a novel with Simon & Schuster, who went out with an ebook first strategy for her book. And in 3 months, she earned that strategy out and they published the paperback. So even the large publishers are hip to this strategy. And so another place that people have asked me is, can I publish the audiobook first? Yes, you can. The people that listen to audiobooks are the people who listen to books when they are commuting in the car, traveling on planes and trains. And they're also the people that might be mothers that are cleaning, people who work out in the fitness rooms or go running or walking. They listen to audiobooks. People listen to audiobooks when they do errands. They listen to audiobooks when they're usually moving. And some people will listen to an audiobook because it's a lot lighter to carry on vacation than 10 books that they would have to pack in their luggage. So that both strategies for ebook and audiobook can target travelers. If you have an escape romance novel or a mystery thriller, these are places that you want to be, because those people want to take those books on vacation. They want to escape. And those are things that you can actually figure that out, right? So that's one of the greatest ways to do that. So Liza, I could put my information in the chat while I'm talking, and I'll do that. Happy to do it. So if you have a particular project that your book actually could be a part of, does it relate to kids going back to school? Does it relate to a particular holiday? Does it relate to a particular organization and their cause? Does it have a character that reflects somebody with that particular illness, condition, or situation? How can you partner with those organizations with your book and get them out? That's one of the most important things that you can do, so that you can actually find that information, so that you can make it possible for you to connect with them. That's one of the best things about doing this, is that when you actually do some research on the business or organization or project that you think it aligns with, or even you might find other authors who share in the same career that you do or the same genre, you can actually do that. Eliza, here's my information in the chat. So as I go along, if you want to reach out, please do that. So one of the things that is really important here is to find your hook. That's one of the best ways to actually figure out how to publish. If the business, organization, or project has an audience that's electronic, make sure that you have an ebook to partner with them, or to throw into that community, or advertise in that community. If they are a real paper, let's take notes and annotate in the margins kind of business or organization, then make sure you have that available to them. One of the things that's always so important, like I know people who say, well, I want to make sure I have an audiobook so that the entire blind community can hear my book, because that's how they read books. The blind community is enormous. You're welcome, Mary. Everything is enormous, right? Every audience could be enormous, but you have to actually reach them, right? Mary just was saying in the chat here, right? She listens to she listens to ebooks on her Kindle Fire because it's cheaper than print. Thank you, Mary. That's right. Right? Ebooks oftentimes are even sponsored as specials. They have reduced prices, and sometimes you can get them for that, and you can target your market that way. Also, when you self-publish, you can put different types of material in the back of the book to have people contact you, right? So that's something that's really important too. Okay, let me do that. So how many different formats are there? So let's talk about that for just a moment. Okay. One of the things that you also want to do is you want to actually put yourself in the position where you understand these are the 4 ways and this is what I'm going to do, and make a plan. Make a plan to publish. You don't have to publish them all at the same time. Have you ever noticed how publishers, the large publishers, will publish a hardcover and then they'll wait 6 months or a year to publish the paperback? And now they either publish the ebook at the same time as the first format, either hardcover or paperback, and then the audiobook comes out 6 months later or a year later. Or sometimes they do it all at the same time because they're a larger publisher with larger pockets. So think, how do you want to actually strategically do this? This is how you sell more books, by getting more audience, by going and creating a product, in this case, a book, that is in the format that they can actually read it and consume it. And most importantly, buy it. Right? And so when we actually start to talk about it, we want them to actually understand not just the audience, but now the opportunity. Like we were talking about with ebooks, you could lower the price and actually escalate everything, make it more available. And look at the market for your book. Before you start rolling your book out, about 3 months before, you should understand who's going to read my book. If it's YA, then you have a particular market. If it's middle grade, you have a different market. If it's adult fiction who reads thriller, it's a different market. Women read 70% of books. Women read 70% of books. So whether you have women's fiction or not, just know that women are oftentimes the larger audience who is actually reading these books. So you want to actually understand how you want to release that book, when you want to release it, and you want to understand who's in your category. So go to something like Amazon or go to the bookseller. I always say, take a field trip to the bookseller and look at your shelf. Look at your shelf. Find books that are like yours and look at what's next to them. So if you do it online, you can see people who like this book actually like this book and this book and this book and this book. And if your book fits into that community, go look at what they're doing. And if you want to see how they strategically published that book, go one step deeper. Go look at the dates of when each format became available. Then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in motion. And that's what you want to do. You want to create that plan. Okay, on this date, I'm going to release this version. On this date, I'm going to release that version. Plus, if you're paying for it yourself and you're self-publishing, that's even more important so that you don't have to pay for each format, depending on who helps you, until you actually need that format, right? So if you don't want to publish an audiobook right away, like we actually do separate contracts for audiobooks because we don't want you to have to pay for that right away if you're not going to do it right away. So one of the things to keep in mind is that digital marketing and promotion is really the cusp and the core of society right now. Most people get their information about books through digital marketing and promotion. Some may get it by looking at the New York Times bestseller list or the USA bestseller list or the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. But one of the things to know is that you can by far reach many, many, many more people with digital marketing and promotion. Now, here are some secrets about how some people are fusing their marketing with their book releases. So before the book is even released, authors are releasing first chapters and actually reading them on live social media feeds. No, they're not distributing them on their website with a PDF. They're actually reading them live on social media events. Next, There are so many virtual literary events that are drawing crowds, and some of them draw like more than 500,000 people. Publishers are paying attention. During the pandemic, it was very hard for Random House to do one of their gatherings for their authors, which they used to do quarterly. Online is something that if you're not willing to do it, you're missing out on an entire community that you could be actually informing about your book. On Instagram, Bookstagrammer is a real thing on Instagram. That hashtag has more than 12 million posts on it. Make sure that you're using the right hashtags to promote your book when you talk about it, when you talk about your career, when you talk about your writing, when you're actually talking about somebody else's writing. That's really a fun thing to do because you can connect with so many people that way, doing what you would naturally do if you are having fun on Instagram. Are you a YouTube fan? Guess what? Booktubers is a great online community for you to be a part of. Even Michelle Obama marketed her memoir using Booktubers. So don't think that, oh, that's not for me. When you see someone like Michelle Obama or someone else who's using that hashtag, they're doing it because they know that they can reach lots and lots of people that way. Why not you? So some people will say to me, my book is a film. Well, my book is a stage play. My book is an episodic series for a particular cable network or for one of the streaming services. I think that's great. Did you know that most of these services and Hollywood desperately need us as writers to come up with stories for them? Yes, that's right. They are content hungry for stories. Why? Because since the second Academy Award, Best Picture nominees have included adaptations from material of written work. I actually do a session and produce it for New York Women in Film and Television, which is coming up on November 1st, which is on Tuesday evening next week, where I actually have a full panel that discusses the business of adaptations, including everything from an entertainment attorney to a literary agent, even to a person who does coverage for film scripts or book scripts or story submissions for people like Tribeca Films and LBI Entertainment. These are people who are on the cusp and who are helping Hollywood do what they do on the front lines and help you through the panel discussion on the writer side. That is actually open to the public. You don't have to be a member of NIWIFT, and it's $20. I'll put the link in the chat for my newsletter, and you can actually sign up for that, which is very simple. So what else? What else about Hollywood and film? Some people say, well, what kind of documents do I have to create for that? Well, it depends. If you actually want to bring your story to Hollywood, you have to provide the information to actually lift it to that. I provide a workshop that actually helps you better understand how to talk about your project with all the different facets of Hollywood and literary. Just remember that literary and entertainment, our business is story. So put in the chat for a moment, what's your favorite television show or what's your favorite movie? Think about all the movies that have actually come from books, like Eat, Pray, Love, Jaws, right? Psycho, all these different places that actually have all these different books. Handmaid's Tale, right? Little Women, more than once, right? Right? You have all of these films, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, all these different pieces and parts, right? Outlander, all these things on Netflix, all these different places that you could actually see your story. Those are really accessible to you if only you knew how to get there. And that's part of what we do. So I'm going to actually stop talking because I love to answer questions, which Alexa knows. And I'm going to show you a couple of things so that you can actually take a look and take a peek. If you are interested in what I was talking about with Hollywood, this is actually where you want to go. And there's a special code for 10% off to join me in February for the next bestseller workshop. The next bestseller workshop is exactly what I was talking about. When you actually want to go to Hollywood and want to understand how to talk about your book with television and film producers. We also have literary agents and publishers who also help you understand how to talk about that project with us. It's a safe space. And a lot of people make connections there because there's only 8 people who are in it, which is awesome. So what else? If you actually use this code WIP10, you'll get 10% off the early registration prices, and they are up there now. If you like to write and you don't want to write alone, please join me in the Make It Happen room. If you use the code first one free, you can join me during the day or on Thursday evenings. Thursday evenings, we practice pitching for a half hour, and then we actually write. And I curate that and teach you how to actually be in a highly productive community, work on your own project, fuse it with accountability, mindfulness moments, and a touch of resilience and joy. There's a lot of fun. It's camaraderie amongst writers, and you'll get more done than you ever thought you could in the time that we work. I invite you to do that as well, and I'd be happy to have you join me. If you want to join my newsletter, as I mentioned, I'd be happy to have you join me. One of the best things people tell me about my newsletter is every Tuesday, I put out conferences of where you can actually go and pitch. And there's the link. I also provide the writer's playlist. I also give you lots of information and keep it fun so that you'll keep writing. I also offer 2 challenges, a winter challenge, winter writing challenge, and a summer writing challenge, which we just finished. And the winner won a free 60-minute consultation with me. I'd love to have you join me. This is my contact information. If you want to have a consultation with me, please go right to this particular link. Here are all my social media handles. And I'm going to go to Q&A and actually take your questions now. So please, please, please enter them there so I can answer them for you. As my friends in the literary world call me, I'm often known as the encyclopedia of publishing. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you. And let's get started. Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Beth who asks, how does a first-time author best navigate deals with a medium indie publisher without an agent? So to your point, Beth, assuming that the publisher offers a deal, one of the best things you can do is get a publishing attorney in your corner. Do not sign a deal without having an attorney review that agreement. The reason why is that publishing contracts can include rights that you don't want them to have. You may say to them, I only want you to have the print rights, or they may want the print, the ebook, and the audiobook rights. And you might say, you know, that's fine with you, and they can produce and publish them all, and that's fine. Or you may want to hold some of those back. Depending on the medium indie publisher and what they're offering, you also want to make sure that there's a termination clause and that you understand it. I know people who have gotten involved with publishers and then they get down on the publisher for whatever reason and want to leave that publisher and then say, I don't know how to do that. So that's one of the things that you actually want to remember, is that you want to be able to give people the information that they need, but make sure that you're getting the information that you need. That's absolutely essential. If you don't understand it, don't sign it. I tell people that all the time. Get somebody to help you understand it so that you can. Okay, we're going to the Q&A box. So what about doing Amazon exclusive at first, then expanding? Mary, that's fine. One of the most important things you need to know about doing it that way is this. First and foremost, one of the things you want to remember is that if you self-publish, you have foregone your opportunity to get an agent unless you sell thousands and thousands, meaning 5,000 to 10,000 copies of that book in the first 3 months. For us in the publishing field, the first 3 months are critical. We want to know what you're doing and we can see what you're doing. We invest $5,000 to $10,000 in a system called BookScan. Most literary agents have them in their agency, and they go in and they can take that cute little barcode that you put on the back of your book and see how many you sold. They may even know more about your book than you do. So make sure when you make the choice to self-publish that you actually want to self-publish and want to keep self-publishing. There's nothing wrong with self-publishing. There used to be a sour connotation for it, but nowadays, lots of people self-publish. In fact, I know some New York Times bestsellers who do both, who actually self-publish. They self-publish paperbacks, they self-publish ebooks, they self-publish ebook-only series, they self-publish novellas, and then they publish their novels with the larger publisher. It's really a very different landscape these days. Let's go to Gigi. All right. So you've self-published 2 books with minimum success. So you like the storytelling that you've done, but you didn't invest in the editors or proofreaders. So how do you re-enter a book like that and get an agent? Okay, so here's the first thing. Your books with that title and that code already have a track record. So do you. What you want to do first is let's parse these questions. If you want to re-enter your work in the market, you can hire an editor like me who can help you assess what is it that you would do with that book. You could either developmentally edit that book, or you could get a copy editor if you feel like you have punctuation, spelling, grammar, or if you're not sure, just get an assessment so you can get more information about what would be the best effort to get that book in better shape. Getting an agent is tough when you've already published because we look at those time periods. And for me, I say this with all the compassion I can, but I'm not going to butter you up because it's not going to serve you. The best thing you can do is write another book or write a book in another genre so that you basically can say, I was published over here, but now I'm writing this, right? That's another way that you can do it. Also, one of the other things, so that's the do better with future books question, right? So part of it is, you know, people like, you have to remember, you should keep writing. That's my advice to you, Gigi. Just keep writing. I'll give you a couple of examples. I'm going to give you the opposite ends of the spectrum. I know many of you know who Nicholas Sparks is, and he's had so many books, right? But Nicholas actually wrote his first manuscript that never saw the light of day. He sent it to agents, agent after agent. It got rejected and rejected, and he threw it up in his attic. Why was he writing? Because he was actually injured while he was playing football, and he was laying on his mother's couch, and she said, why don't you get up and do something? Go write a book. So he did, and it went nowhere. The second book that he wrote also went nowhere, and he decided that he would get a job. So he got a job as a pharmaceutical salesperson. And then he said, I'm going to give this writing thing one more shot. And when he did, he actually decided that he was going to write the Notebook. In 6 months, in the evening and on weekends, he wrote the Notebook. The Notebook went to Warner Books through a literary agent, and the second day it was there, it was optioned for a film. So that's something that you can actually find them, and you want to make sure that you don't pigeonhole yourself, Gigi, with the books that you have. Just keep writing. Here's another good way to think about it. Dan Brown sold books out of the back of his car for 10 years, trying to move his own books. And then his first book was not Angels and Demons. Many people think that that was his first book. And so that's not really what happened. What really happened for Dan is that Dan Brown actually went door to door, car to car, right, selling his books, when really the Da Vinci Code was the book that was his breakout success. So you never know. You want to actually be doing more with the books that you have and keep moving them. Oh, and if you do post them back up on Amazon with the same title and the same number, we're still going to be able to see your sales. Okay. Can you self-publish and then later sign with a traditional publisher for the same book? Yes, that's a great question. You can. So one of the things that happens with traditional publishers is people go to traditional publishers. Some people self-publish first and then are able to get picked up later. And that traditional publisher may want the entire catalog of books that you have. And so they will republish those books under their imprint. So the answer to that question, great question, is true. Yes. Okay. Is it normal to have to pay a substantial amount to publish and have a literary agent and get a book out? Okay, let me parse this one really fast. So you don't pay a literary agent. Please, if anybody wants you to pay them as a literary agent, please run in the other direction as fast as your little legs can carry you. Okay. They are all part of the American Association of American Literary Agents, the AALA. Do not pay anybody as a literary agent. Okay. Literary agents get paid 15% of your royalties, whatever it is that you make. If you are going to traditionally publish, you should not expect to pay anyone unless you go to a hybrid publisher. Hybrid publishers will ask you to pay. Some people who will help you self-publish. Okay, so you might publish under a publishing company, but they may ask you to pay. And so that basically means that you're going to pay them to publish your book. You're not going to have an agent. And then, like I said, there are hybrids. Okay, that's Stacy's question. So Sierra, I'm transitioning from Kindle exclusive to wide. What's the best place to start? The Go Wide journey. I love these questions. They're great. So what you want to be able to do is, are you tracking where you've actually seen the Kindle exclusive? If you've done it in a certain market, and it's a certain type of market, like let's say you did Kindle exclusive, in a certain demographic, okay, or a certain geographic location, pick things that are similar to that. You basically want to expand on what's been successful and not spend your go wide journey on those audiences that are not buying it, right? So do some research. I'm a data kid. I want to know all the information about where my books are selling. And I really keep track of that through a lot of different formats like Google Analytics. I can see who's actually following my career and all the things that I'm doing in certain places online. There are lots of ways for you to find out what's going on. And as a Kindle, I would actually ask for some data. Then I have, let's see. I think that's the last question. Did I miss one? No, okay. I
Yeah,
think
you
I've
did
got
them all.
them. Let's see, okay. So one of the things that I want to end with is this. Whatever you're doing, however you're publishing, however successful your publishing has been, the key is to sit in the seat and keep writing. Write what you love, not for the trends, and publish it for the audiences that your book is for. If it's not for the audience, don't get sour on your book. It doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means that there are a whole bunch of other audiences that you may need to get in front of to get the traction you want. Here's my information. Alexa, I think we're right on time.
That was great, Jennifer. I don't know if you want to pull off the slides really quickly, just so that we can wrap this up with everyone
Sure.
looking at us. There we go. Such great examples, such great information. And you will email us the slides and the handout so that we can include those in the replay, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And for those of you watching on Facebook, if you didn't register, you won't get that email, but I posted the link with the newsletter sign up and all of Jennifer's contact information, so you can reach out and request that as well, I'm sure. So thank you again so much. This was really wonderful. Great examples and just really good information. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. I hope everyone who's online and everyone who attended, that you'll join us in the spring at the summit.
Absolutely. So between now and then, we will be rolling out some more webinars, some more workshops, all of those things. Make sure that you head over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events to check out what is coming up. And on November 7th, we will start those early bird tickets. Some of our sponsors have deals that are already ready for you to claim as soon as you purchase your ticket. So that's a big bonus. And we'll start our networking sessions, which anybody who was a part of the conference last year, I joke that I think I could do a conference with only networking sessions and people would be happy because they love them so much. But we actually do have real presentations, including Jennifer's, which I'm looking very much forward to, which is to how to write a query letter that's actually going to get an agent's notice, which is really great for all of you pursuing the traditional route. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and we will see you at our next webinar. All right. Bye.
Thank you.